So how this one ends up, you know, I wouldn't compare it to sort of when Alan Shearer was left out by Ruud Gullit all those years ago and it ended up being like a massive clash and one has to go in the end. I'm not sure we're quite at that point, but it does feel that something has to give because there is no way that Mohamed Salah is going to be content being a bit part player in this team. Whether it's in January or whether it's in the summer, if he finds the right club, because I think he deserves that right to maybe move on if things aren't going to go his way. But I can only see that outcome. I don't see really now that maybe once that trust is broken, especially with someone like Mo, who Daniel would know a lot better than me as a human being, I just feel like he needs that confidence and love from a manager. We all talk about how mentally strong he is, but that feels like it's going to come to a head at some point, Daniel.
Do you think he could leave the club in January?
I'd like to think not. But you never know in football. I'd like to think not. I think he's a player that, has he been performing to the level? We talk about stats, we talk about numbers, and that's what Mo's known for. Has he delivered those this season? No, he hasn't. But nobody else has either.
But you also know how much self-belief this guy has. Yes. And he will be hurting, won't he, right now? Every
player that is driven by, you know, goals, assists, and those are individual things, and I'm not suggesting Mo's an individual player, but he wants to be the reason why the team wins. Attackers, typically, are driven that way. It's unique when you have a striker or a winger who doesn't want to be the reason. My job is to score, my job is to assist. That is my job. I want to do that. Mo's delivered that since he's joined the football club. This is the first season where we can question him and go, oh, well, he's not doing this. But I'm not quite sure that Mohamed Salah is the reason why Liverpool aren't. Last season, he was the reason why the team won the league. And now we're quick to question, because we've got Wirtz coming, we've got Isak coming, guys who are young players, top class players, gonna potentially be world class. The pair of them, there's no debate in that. I truly believe Ekitike, all the attackers that have Gakpo, this and that. But a man of Mohamed Salah's quality, it hurts me to see. I can tell that, you know, he's not happy, and you wouldn't be because you're used to being the main man. There comes a time in every player's career where managers, owners, and the player have decisions to make. I don't think this is the stage we're at with Mohamed Salah. Personally, I think the club can turn it around in terms of performances, and I think Mohamed Salah can turn it around in terms of performances. But what I don't want to see is this notion that we're almost pushing Mohamed Salah away because what he scored, he's the top scorer for the team. Yes, we could say there's a couple of penalties in there and whatever, but nobody's delivering top-level performances for Liverpool this season. If we actually ask those players right now, which one of you believe you've been at the level that you've set yourself and the standards you've set yourself for all these years? I'm not sure one of them can go.
Maybe only Soboslai, probably. I don't think there's any.
Yes.
But I'm with you. I think apart from that, Daniel, there's not one play. You could make a case for every player being left out on that side right now. The levels have dropped so significantly, haven't they?
Yeah, the levels have dropped. Look, I truly believe they can come back, though. I'm not suggesting that they can't come back.
On Salah, would you be starting him on Saturday at Leeds?
But then again, I'm not the manager. I can't decide what I believe he would do. I'm saying if you're going to change the formation and play a slightly different form, I would go all the way with it. And I would say, okay, well, let's have a look at Ekitike and Isak up top and see whether that's the answer. If you're going to leave Salah out again, then I will try something different. And I've worked in a number 10 behind them and see if that can open a few doors. We know what Salah can do. Yes, has he been good this season? He hasn't been at his level. Mo knows that. But Mo also knows I'm a top player and I'm prepared to work my socks off to get back to the level that I've been playing at for.
One thing for sure, it didn't work today playing Soboslai and Gomez at right back and right midfield. But it might be one where you go to Leeds and be more difficult to beat if that's what he wants to set his team up. But if you're going there to try and win and you're thinking we need a goal from somewhere and playing in a Liverpool style and making sure that you're on the front foot, then Salah has to start.
Good morning to Darren McCanty. So a little bit more there on Van Dijk. Jamie Redknapp there wasn't so sure. You're defending him there. You think that maybe do his teammates need to do more to help him?
What we're not focusing on there in the clip is look at Konate before that. He's like Bambi on ice trying to win a header. If he does his job, Van Dijk's partner, and clears that out, you're never in that situation in the first place. So he's now making up for Konate's mistake because he gets beaten, the ball gets knocked down, and then Van Dijk makes the mistake of passing it straight to their player in a moment of panic with everything going on. Look, Virgil van Dijk's been a world-class player for years, one of the best defenders the Premier League's seen for a long time. He's having a tough period of time, but I would also argue he's dealing with a lot around him. I'm not trying to make excuses for him because he hasn't been perfect. And last night was another example where you'd say, put your body on the line, go out and meet the player, go out and block the shot properly as opposed to backing off, which is a big thing that he does. I'm not a technician, so I'm not going to teach one of the best defenders in the world how to block a shot or how to defend. But I would always say, look at the circumstances. And it's very easy to kick a player when they're down. Confidence is a funny thing in any sport, and Jamie's right about being fragile. Liverpool are fragile. They're having a moment. Their captain's having a moment. But he's also looking around the dressing room. He's looking around the 11, and he's seen a different right back one week, a different left back one week, a goalkeeper with hamstring issues where they've got to change a goalkeeper. He's got a partner next to him who keeps getting played, who really, if we had another central defender, would probably have been dropped already because he's been one of the probably worst performers this season. So there are mitigating circumstances for what's going on. Never mind the midfield in front of him who aren't doing enough to close down the opposition as well. So it's not just a Virgil van Dijk issue. This is an overall bigger issue since the summer.
The first half performance was considered
lacklustre.
Flat, lacklustre.
Yeah, lacklustre.
What do you put that down to, though?
I think they're struggling within themselves. They went to West Ham, did a job, got a result they needed to get. It was like a get, win, quickly fix, which worked. And then obviously they're back at Anfield last night. Last time they'd been there, they obviously got stuffed by Nottingham Forest. So the pressure's on the players. I think a lot of players are struggling to adapt, particularly the players who moved in the summer. I think everything gone on at Liverpool since Jota passed away, God bless him, it hasn't been an ideal summer from a recruitment perspective with, Isak obviously not fit, not up to speed quick enough. I think the biggest issue for me was not replacing Luis Diaz. I think that's been a big problem for Liverpool. And then Mo Salah's not sudden decline, but the fact he's looking a year older. Those wide areas were our strength. They now look like a weak area for the team. So Slot's got a lot on his plate. The owners have got a lot on their plate. But as a Liverpool fan, I'll tell you this. A few years ago after we won the title, the following year, we were on the worst run I've ever seen. We ended up getting top 4 and then we won the title a couple of years later. So this is football. Confidence can be fragile.
And 8th in the table, it is only 2 points off the top 4. And top 4, given that Slot won the title last season with that credit in the bank, top 4 might be enough. And of course, there's still Europe and FA Cup to come.
Yes. I mean, obviously, Champions League is a consideration. They'd love to win that. The title's probably gone, being 11 points out of it so soon in the season. And you don't see an Arsenal or a Man City giving up that kind of a lead. And I still think Man City might pip Arsenal. But I think more importantly is bed those new players in, get confidence back in the group, start winning at Anfield again and making that the place everyone used to fear going to. I'm watching Sunderland be quite comfortable at Anfield last night. That's unsettling. To see Nottingham Forest beat you score 4 past you, that's unsettling. People are writing off Slot. He's under a lot of pressure. Slot ball, they want to talk about, was a Jurgen Klopp's team last year. I think it's harsh. I would definitely be on the side of, you give that manager as much time as you can. I think he deserves that. He's got enough credit in the bank. And those newer players, particularly Isak, get your act together. It's time now to show up. All of this about not being fit and not having a pre-season, there was a lot of money invested in you, you paid a lot of money. You're going to need a lot more than 6 or 7 touches around the pitch, and you're going to have to start running the hard yards. There's not enough of that's happening either.
So if you're the owner of Liverpool and you're in charge of obviously changing managers, etc., do you think that regardless of what happens this season, Slot should still be there at the end of the season?
Absolutely. Unless some disastrous reason, Liverpool are
what would
7,
be a
8.
disaster for Liverpool, do you think? What would make it that bad?
Going into January, February, where basically Liverpool are 6th, 7th or 8th and 10 points outside of the Champions League would be a disaster for a club that size and the investment that was made in the summer, even though they sold a lot of players. And people forget, I think it was 10 players that left. They talk about the 400 million spent. It was also nearly 300 odd million brought in.
Yeah.
So a lot of changes needed to happen, a lot of restructure needed to happen. The biggest problem Liverpool have got is the system, is betting those new players in, not looking themselves out wide. Things like that make you uncomfortable. Liverpool's biggest strength was out wide, and you're looking this season, you're looking whether it's Salah, Gakpo, it's not working out wide. Now you got Wirtz, and you got to find where are you playing him. Sometimes he's playing off the left, sometimes he's playing in the centre, sometimes he's in a free role. Bet those players in, knuckle down, and dig out more results. They got to get a result against Leeds. They go to Leeds and have a disaster, and Leeds had a great win last night. He's under pressure again. People like Van Dijk will be in that dressing room now saying to the players, we can't make those mistakes that we've been making all season. It's time to clean it up. Sunderland had a great game plan last night. A lot of respect. I know it's your club. Nobody expected them to come to Anfield and nearly nick it in the 90th minute and be so comfortable. Liverpool showed up.
Right there.
Liverpool showed up in the last 10 minutes, and that was great. But we needed them to show up at Anfield for 90 minutes. That's what the crowd expects. I expect that will happen very soon, and they will win 4 or 5 in a row. My biggest concern for me would be out wide, and obviously the number 9 that you want to go with. They've spent so much money on Isak, it's almost by default he's in the team. And his performances haven't merited him being in the team at the moment.
Well, Sky Sports are partnered with Analyses, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, scan the QR code on the screen now or visit the Sky Sports app for more details. Let's speak to Liverpool fan Connor Ray now. Good morning, Connor. Now, you'll have heard Jamie Carragher say it felt like another step backwards for Liverpool last night. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how we could not agree with that, right? I noticed it's you smiling this morning, Tom, instead of me for once. It was another poor result at Anfield for us, and after the West Ham performance, as Darius just said, it was an unacceptably lacklustre performance from us as well. That first half, as Gethin Carragher described it on co-coms as sleepwalking towards a loss and sleepwalking towards another poor performance, and that's exactly how it felt. It was like the first half of the Man City game, and after the recent losses we've had, you just want the players to come out and to show a bit of fight, to show a bit of willing, to get involved in their duels, to get involved in the tackle, and there was none of that present again last night.
Well, it's interesting there you used the word unacceptable. Regis Lebris after the game said Sunderland were surprised by the time and space that they had to play. I'm sure you'd describe that as unacceptable too for Liverpool side at home.
Definitely, and it's something we're not used to as well. You know, this team, you look at the spine of the team is still the same, right? The same team that played under Klopp and was renowned for not giving teams space at Anfield, for pressing high up the pitch, winning the ball back that high up and creating chances from there. That sort of that gegenpressing football, and teams feared coming to Anfield as well. Now, I know that's not Slot's tactics. I know that he likes to try and control the game a bit more and press in moments instead. But when we seem to be playing with the same sort of arrogance that a 2018 Man City team that we're playing with that just achieved 100 points in the league, and we're not that side. We might be Premier League champions, but
we might have lost Connor there, but Darryl,
got to invest in some Wi-Fi.
Yeah, he'll sort that out and he'll come back on. But Darryl, on that, it was quite interesting hearing the Sunderland manager Regis Lebris saying that they were surprised by the space. I think they were expecting to be closed down quicker, etc. And there's no doubt more energy maybe from Liverpool.
There's a lack of intensity right now in Liverpool. Whether that's down to confidence, whether that's down to I don't know the training schedule. I don't know about what goes on behind closed doors. But you look at Liverpool, they're not the pressing machine that they were, or pressing animal they were last year. Certainly not under Klopp, where they'd press you so high up the pitch. What you saw in the final 10 minutes when Sunderland went 1-0 up, it was like button goes, let's start pressing them, let's get the ball back. Sunderland didn't have the ball for like 9 minutes, I think. That's what you expect from a Liverpool team against the top side, and no disrespect to Sunderland, when they're playing an Arsenal or whether they're playing a Man City. That's the Liverpool you expect. So for those players at the moment to lack the intensity, I'm just seeing something about Joe Gomez losing 8 of 9 duels that he contested last night. Mo Salah, probably couldn't beat me at the moment if I was playing full back for some reason. So something's not quite right, but it doesn't mean it can't get right. And we're talking about a magnificent football club that's just won the title, have had a horrible summer off the pitch, have had a lot of changes on the pitch. And for that, I'm one of those people that, we give them more time. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and stick with them. Because it's easy to say, it's horrible to watch, it's lacklustre, the manager doesn't know what he's doing, the intensity's gone from all of the players, he's lost the dressing room. That's just the easy narrative, and the narrative the media like to spin and put more pressure on.
We don't know if he's lost the dressing room. There's no way we can know that.
He hasn't. The bottom line is they've got to go back to work. I always say, it's a saying of mine, goes back in whether it's in sports or off the field, on the field, is that, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And when you're in real moments of challenges in your life, dig in and work harder. I say the same to my kids every day. When I was under the most pressure in my life, I always found work even harder, and I came through it. Because if you just wave the white flag and you give up at that point, well then everyone wins. And I don't think anyone's going to win this time. I think Liverpool will come through this, and it'll make them stronger. And I do hope Slot comes through it.
The stat that you just said there is, I'm not a massive stats man, but these are actually quite interesting here. You're right. So Joe Gomez lost 8 of his 9 duels.
Yep.
Salah lost all 4 of his in the second half. Dominic Szoboszlai won 1 of 5 ground duels.
He's played, by the way, and Szoboszlai's been one of the positives this season.
He's the one people have been praising the most.
You don't want to get him dragged
shifted
down. He's been shifted. He's like a utility player.
Can you I suppose, defend him in that sense? That he's been right back, central midfield.
Square pegs round holes. I hate that. One of my biggest bugbears with managers of mine over the years, I hate square pegs round holes. We've got a left back, let's play him right wing. We've got a right winger on, we can play him as an 8. At the end of the day, play your right back as a right back, play your right winger wide right. You know, put people in their positions. A club the size of Liverpool shouldn't need utility players filling in. That right there is one of the biggest problems we've had going into this season, that every right back we have seems to be made of glass or has got an issue. You know, there's too many changes. I don't know Slot's best 11. I don't think you do.
Think he does?
I don't think he does at the moment. That's a problem. You could ask Arteta, he would know his best 11. 95% of those players are going to play in the big games. You know that.
It seems like the players who do come in when there's an injury know their jobs.
No, absolutely.
Know their jobs.
And Liverpool's biggest problem isn't just Van Dijk. McAllister's been below par this season. So many of their top players, Gravenberch hasn't been anywhere near the standard of last year. So many of their top players have fallen way below. What do they say about climbing a mountain when you're a champion? You win, you climb the mountain. It's tougher to go back down and go back up again, or even to stay up there. That's where you give respect to Man City, winning so many titles for so many years in a row. Liverpool haven't quite. We waited a long time to win a league title. The back-to-back seems to be the next big thing we need to obviously change. So, look, it's not all is lost. They can have a great season. They can win the Champions League, finish top 4. You know, right now, it feels like it's the end of the world. It's not.
Mikel Arteta has made it clear that Arsenal will need to unleash their complete player against Bayern Munich. The Gunners host the German champions at the Emirates Stadium on Wednesday, and one man in particular could be decisive. Ebereki Eze, described as a very complete player by teammate Mikel Merino, is emerging as one of Arsenal's most dangerous weapons ahead of their Champions League clash with Bayern. The 27-year-old announced himself in North London with a stunning hat-trick in his first derby since arriving in a £67.5 million move from Crystal Palace. His 3 brilliant goals dismantled Tottenham, and truthfully, he could have scored even more. Merino believes every one of Arsenal's 8 summer signings has lifted the squad's level, helping the team build a 6-point lead at the top of the Premier League. But Wednesday's matchup is different. Bayern Munich, the reigning Bundesliga champions, represent the toughest test yet for Arteta's side. Speaking after the win over Spurs, Merino praised Eze's qualities and hinted at the impact he could have in such a high-stakes European battle. "We've brought in a lot of players who can make a difference. But you can see that other teams have spent big as well," the Spain international said. "Individual brilliance can win matches, sure, but in the end, it's the team that matters. If you have great players who don't connect, that's a problem. The good thing about this group is that everyone thinks about the team first." When asked about Eze specifically, Merino didn't hesitate. "I think he's incredibly complete. He can dribble, he can pass, and his technical quality is outstanding. In Spain, we always talk about players who can connect with others. He has that naturally. He grew up with that instinct to link play, move the ball, and build relationships on the pitch. He also has the mindset to get involved, demand the ball, and influence the game. At the same time, he's strong, he can take players on, and he can finish. He's a truly complete signing." Merino also touched on how the modern game often reduces players to simple numbers. "These days everyone judges players by goals and assists, that's just how it is. But as footballers, we see the deeper qualities he brings, the technique, the movement, the intelligence. Even in training, you can tell immediately how special he is. Yes, he's scoring goals, but he's much more than that. He's an exceptional player, and we're incredibly lucky to have him. He can play in several positions and adapt to different systems. He's been a huge addition for Arsenal." Beyond the technical qualities, Merino believes Eze's attitude, and the healthy competition within the squad, will be crucial in Arsenal's title push. You can hear the calm in Ebereki's voice and see it in the way he carries himself. He's confident, grounded, and every morning we sit together in the sauna at the training ground and talk about everything, he added with a smile. "He's a great guy, already fully integrated, and we need players like him. Competition is fierce. There's so much quality in this squad. That's exactly what the manager wanted, as many top players as possible, all ready to play. It makes his decisions tough, choosing who starts and who doesn't, but it also pushes every one of us to give our best in every session. And that's why we're improving as a team." As Arsenal prepare for Bayern's arrival, Arteta is facing one of the most delicate balancing acts of the season. The squad is healthy, competition is fierce, and expectations have never been higher. But behind the scenes, there is a growing sense that Eze's versatility and calm presence may be essential against a Bayern side known for controlling the tempo in big European nights. Arteta himself has hinted at Eze's importance without naming him directly. After the Tottenham victory, the manager spoke about the need for players who can break pressure, dictate rhythm, and stay composed when the game becomes chaotic. Those inside the club believe those comments were aimed at Ease as much as anyone. The coaching staff has been particularly impressed by how quickly he has adapted to Arsenal's positional play structure, a system that demands far more tactical discipline than what he was used to at Crystal Palace. Analysts at the club point to his growing influence not only in the final third, but also in build-up phases, where his ability to glide past pressure could help Arsenal bypass Bayern's aggressive midfield line. There is also an awareness that Bayern's fullbacks tend to push high, leaving spaces between the lines. Ease's skill set, sharp turns, deceptive acceleration, and precise final balls, could be exactly what Arteta needs to exploit those gaps. Outside the club, pundits have already started circling Wednesday's match as a defining moment for the £67.5 million signing. Some believe that if Ease can impose himself on a Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich, it will confirm his arrival among Europe's elite creative players. Former players have echoed that sentiment. Several ex-Arsenal figures, speaking on television over the weekend, highlighted the need for someone who can change the temperature of the match with a moment of calm or an unexpected burst of creativity. Ease, they argued, is one of the few in the squad capable of both. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich come into the match with their own confidence. Their midfield trio has been one of the most dominant in Europe this season, and they have shown a repeated ability to suffocate opponents early. That dynamic is precisely why Arteta may lean on Ease's composure. When the game tightens, Arsenal will need a player capable of slowing it down, protecting the ball, and finding solutions in tight spaces. Within Arsenal's dressing room, Mourinho's praise reflects a broader consensus. Senior players have reportedly been struck by Ease's humility and work ethic, qualities that have helped him integrate seamlessly into a squad that already had strong internal chemistry. Staff members describe him as someone who never forces the game and lets the match come to him, characteristics that could prove invaluable in a high-tension Champions League tie. As kickoff approaches, the narrative surrounding the match has shifted. What began as a test of Arsenal's resilience has quietly become a spotlight on whether Ease can elevate them in Europe the same way he has in the Premier League. For Arteta, the equation is simple. If Arsenal are to overcome Bayern, they will need more than intensity. They will need control. They will need creativity. And increasingly, they will need the completeness Ease brings to every phase of the pitch. Whether he starts in a wide role as a floating midfielder, or even as an interior playmaker, the expectation is the same. Ease will have to find the spaces others cannot, and influence the game in ways that statistics alone will not capture. The stakes are high, the opponent is formidable, and the spotlight is intense. But within the walls of London Coney, the belief is growing that this is exactly the kind of stage Ebereki Ease was signed for. Martin Odegaard is nearing a return to action after suffering a medial collateral ligament injury in Arsenal's 2-0 win over West Ham earlier in October. Yet, 3.5 years after Mikel Arteta named him captain, the Norwegian finds himself in an unfamiliar position. His place in the starting lineup is no longer guaranteed. For the first time since joining the club permanently from Real Madrid in August 2021, there is real debate over whether he remains an automatic choice for Arteta's 11. Odegaard, now 26, has been central to Arsenal's resurgence under Arteta, the conductor who shaped the team's rhythm through some of their most fluid football. But this season, the Gunners have been forced to navigate long stretches without their captain, first due to a shoulder issue that kept him out of 4 matches in September, and then because of a knee collision with West Ham's Crescencio Somerville that sidelined him again. And during his absence, something significant happened. Ebereki Ease stepped into the spotlight. Ease's sensational hat-trick in the North London Derby has complicated the picture. Now thriving in a central role, the England international has given Arsenal a different kind of presence around the edge of the box. A blend of unpredictability, directness, and two-footed confidence that opponents struggle to contain. He may not control games with the same metronomic precision as Odegaard, but he offers a spark, a willingness to take risks at moments when Arsenal need a jolt of creativity. After such a standout performance against Tottenham, it feels almost impossible to imagine Arteta leaving Ease out. The manager has always had a soft spot for players riding a wave of confidence, and Ease is currently surfing at full height. There was a similar situation back in September, when Mikel Merino was handed a start against Manchester City after scoring 4 times in 2 games for Spain, including a hat-trick against Turkey. Arteta doesn't hesitate to reward form. Ease has carried that form onto the international stage as well, recently scoring a stunning goal for England in a 2-0 win over Serbia in the World Cup qualifiers at Wembley. Though he can play on the left, It has always been clear that Arteta brought him to the Emirates to operate in midfield. And with Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi near untouchable in the double pivot, the odds of Ease and Odegaard consistently starting together seem slim. That leaves Odegaard in an unfamiliar position. He needs minutes to rebuild sharpness, yet Arsenal's medical team won't rush him. The plan is likely to ease him back through short substitute appearances before restoring him to larger roles. But even once fully fit, Odegaard faces genuine competition, because Ease has shifted the landscape. His arrival has raised the team's ceiling, and his performances have earned him the right to keep his place. Before the dismantling of Tottenham, Ease had scored only twice for Arsenal, one against Port Vale in the Carabao Cup and another versus his former club Crystal Palace, a clever finish that sealed victory. Now, with 5 goals across all competitions, he sits just one behind Odegaard's total from last season, when the captain made 45 appearances. Odegaard's 2023-24 numbers were outstanding: 11 goals, 12 assists, influence written across every competition. That is the standard he must match again if he wants to reclaim his spot, because Ease is hungry, confident, and eager to impress ahead of next summer's World Cup. Arteta will insist that Arsenal need both players at their best if they are to meet their ambitions in the months ahead. And with Kai Havertz also working his way back to full fitness, potentially slotting into midfield behind marquee striker Victor Gyökeres, the battle for places has never been fiercer at the Emirates. For Odegaard, the message is clear: he must rise to the challenge. His leadership and quality remain unquestioned, but he can no longer rely on reputation alone. If he embraces the competition and fights his way back into the side, his return could push Arsenal to even greater heights. And if the team has already reached this level without several key figures, the potential for what comes next may be even greater. Inside the club, staff members are quietly acknowledging that Arsenal are entering a new phase, one where no player, not even the captain, is immune to tactical evolution. Arteta has spent the past 2 seasons building a squad capable of sustaining pressure across multiple competitions, and the emergence of Ease is a sign that the manager's long-term planning is beginning to bear fruit. Depth is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. But with depth comes difficult decisions. Arteta has always valued balance in midfield, and the contrasting profiles of Odegaard and Ease force him to reconsider what type of midfield best suits the team's ambitions in Europe and the Premier League. The technical control and spatial awareness that Odegaard brings have defined Arsenal's identity under Arteta. Conversely, Ease's dynamism, physical presence, and unpredictable touches give Arsenal a new dimension, especially against teams that sit deep or defend aggressively in central areas. This internal shift has also caught the attention of analysts and former players. Several pundits have begun to question whether the captaincy should guarantee a place in the lineup, especially at a club with ambitions of challenging for the Champions League. Others argue that Odegaard's leadership is too valuable to sideline, pointing to the standards he sets in training and his influence over younger players. Those debates are already spilling into the media, and they will only intensify as the season progresses. There is also the tactical question of whether Arteta might eventually experiment with a system that accommodates both Ease and Odegaard, something he briefly attempted earlier in the season during the win over West Ham. But with Rice and Zubimendi forming an almost impenetrable midfield pairing, any reshuffle risks destabilizing the defensive structure that has made Arsenal one of the most resilient teams in the league. The manager has hinted that he is open to adjustments, but only if they enhance the team's overall cohesion. For Odegaard himself, the challenge is as much psychological as it is physical. He has worked hard to cultivate an image of calm authority, a leader who raises the level of those around him through clarity and consistency. Now he must show that he can adapt, compete, and respond to adversity. His teammates still speak of him with admiration, describing him as one of the most studious and detail-oriented players at London Coney. They believe that once he regains full rhythm, he will naturally reassert his influence. Yet even they acknowledge that the landscape has shifted. One senior player privately remarked that, "The team is different now, Ease has changed what we can do in the final third." That sentiment reflects not a lack of faith in Odegaard, but an understanding that Arsenal have evolved while he has been sidelined. For Arteta, the ideal scenario is straightforward: a fully fit Odegaard competing with a fully confident Ease, creating a level of internal competition that lifts the entire squad. The manager often speaks about the need for healthy tension among his players, pressure that keeps standards high without fracturing unity. The arrival of Victor Gyökeres, combined with the recovery of Havertz, only amplifies that dynamic. Arsenal's season will almost certainly hinge on these midfield decisions. With Champions League knockout matches approaching and the Premier League title race tightening, Arteta must decide not only who starts, but what kind of identity he wants his team to carry into the defining months of the campaign. The next few weeks will reveal whether Odegaard's return sparks a resurgence or a battle for relevance. If he manages to reclaim his place, it could serve as a reminder of why Arteta trusted him with the armband in the first place. If he struggles, it will underline how rapidly Arsenal are progressing, and how little room there is for sentiment at the highest level. Either way, the captain's response will shape not just his future, but the trajectory of a team that believes it is on the brink of something significant.